Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Bastian Weekly, your source for news on roles, technology, recruitment, and supply chain. So, just a couple of roles I wanted to mention to start off. We have a senior project manager role that can be based in Sydney or Melbourne. Employer is a global leading supply chain software company, market leader as well. Fantastic organization to work with. We've got a national operations manager role based in Melbourne, overseeing a multi-site contract logistics network. We've got a head of logistics role for an e-com furniture company. The role is based in Sydney, overseeing all of the 3PL contracts and last mile delivery. We've got a number of roles actually across all levels, from team lead and operations and site manager roles to a multi-site responsibility in the fulfillment and contract logistics space. It certainly seems like it's quite a buoyant market, or a lack of talent, depending on how you look at it, but certainly a lot of needs for staff and people within the fulfillment environment. We have a PSO director role based in Tokyo that we are still trying to find a bilingual Japanese and English national who obviously is either interested in living in Tokyo or open to relocating back to Tokyo. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, let us know. And then lastly, but not least, we are still in the look for DC design and automation design skills, either in the UK or here in Australia. So if you've got any automation design, you've got AutoCAD and some advanced data modeling skill sets, love to talk to you. A couple things just to highlight in terms of the recruitment industry. This week, a few pieces of content have been put out around a couple topics I'd like to raise. One is just the mental health of recruiters and people who work from home. I think there's growing concerns around the isolation that you can have, obviously not working with your peers in an office. I know here at Bastian Consulting, we certainly try to put some processes and steps in place for team-based activities. We play some games and things like that online together just to build that camaraderie. And also taking some time out to do some physical fitness or just some personal time as well. So you're not sitting in front of a screen or on the phone by yourself for 9-10 hours a day. The other thing I wanted to mention just about the recruitment industry here, specifically in Australia, some content that was put out by the RCSA in relation to some new policy that's looking to be a new bill that's looking to be signed off in Parliament around same job, same pay type legislation. Concern raised by the RCSA is the lack of clarity around what this legislation would mean for temp agencies, on hire agencies, and temp and contract hires, because it's quite vague, some of the language in these bills, and it'll make it confusing for recruitment firms that are operating are labor hire firms, or firms even doing white collar temp contract work as well, because it can be a little bit vague, the language they're proposing in this bill. So just something to keep an eye on. News and supply chain, I did want to talk about a couple things. Amazon's recent acquisition of a Belgium-based mechatronics company called Klostermans, which will enable them to faster deploy some of their automation solutions. So that's a little bit of tech and supply chain news. Other thing to comment on, certainly some growing concerns around the cost of supply chain. Ford announced actually today that to its shareholders, there'll be an extra $1 billion of supply chain costs added into the third quarter of their forecast. So, I think that's probably a lot of some similarities for a lot of manufacturing companies and just businesses in general around the rising cost of supply chain services, raw materials, and products. And the other thing I wanted to quickly mention was the EU announced today their powers for supply chain emergencies, which would help reduce the risk of future supply chain shortages and give the EU government body more power to control supply chains during crises or pandemics or similar situations. So it'll be interesting to see whether local governments here in Australia or in the APAC region kind of follow suit to put legislation in place to essentially take over supply chains during pandemics or crises or difficult situations. So it's just something to keep an eye on. But anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Love to hear your comments and thoughts. Shoot us an email, give us a call anytime, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers.